So yesterday I showed you guys what a bare bones kind of squat session looks like when I don't have time to train at all, kind of just get in and get out. Today I thought I'd give you the opposite side of that spectrum. So I'm going to give you a full squat workout when I don't have time constraints. So I'm going to give you every single rep of every single set so you guys have an appreciation how much volume I do on the good days, I guess you can call. It's cold, so it's going to take me a little bit of time to warm up more so than usual, just so I can kind of get in that volume. So hopefully I'll take this off soon. All right, so let's get started. So I'm going to try and do a bit of front squatting, obviously, like I do every day. And I'll try and get some back squatting in as well. So it's going to be maybe a longer video, obviously, than yesterday. But yeah, just give you guys an idea of what I actually do. Because, you know, if you guys thought that I do yesterday's type of workout every single day, it would be wrong, right? Like, you know, you can't get progress if you do such little amount of work. So I'll give you guys, I guess, a better representation of what I actually do. It's actually quite hard to rack in a jumper because it pushes the bar a little bit forward. Let's take it off. So that was 60, let's go 80. I find front squat so much easier to recover from. I've heard people say it's more difficult because just, you know, your posterior chain gets a bit of a different kind of look, especially the upper kind of back. But for me, I just recover so much quicker with front squats. Maybe it's just the weight is less. But I'm enjoying it. It's a lot less draining, I find. So that's 100. Oh. The only shitty thing with front squats is the nature of it. It's so uncomfortable across the front rack position. Like I'm still bruised through here. You know, lucky I've got, you know, a shirt on to give it a bit of more cushioning. But that's basically the only bad thing about it. Like it's just uncomfortable across the collarbones and sort of like the tip of the shoulder, anterior deltoid. Other than that, like it's a really enjoyable lift. I enjoy the upper back contraction. I enjoyed the kind of the battle that I have to kind of put up with to stay upright. Forces the quads to work a little bit more. But the only bad thing is just it's painful, man. It's just painful. I've heard other people on the net talk about how it never really gets better. You just kind of get accustomed to the discomfort. Kind of like the hook grip. Hopefully it's not like that. Hopefully it gets a little bit more comfortable. But it is what it is, one of those things. But then I think about the Olympic weightlifters who are there, like, you know, throwing the bar and catching it, you know, 200 kilos and up. Some of these guys are catching the thing on the front rack. You know, what have I got to complain about, man? I'm squatting 120 kilos, so I have to get used to it, right? Alright, that was 120, let's see 140. So this is 140, typically I stop here. Like I said before, it's not so much the leg strength is lacking, it's just I fold over. You know, I think my main drivers in the squat is the kind of the glute. And so to engage more of the glute, I have to lean over more. So, you know, my intuition with squatting is always to lean a little bit forward to kind of to engage the glute. And so it's kind of like a, you know, trade-off between how much quad that I want to use and how much upper back I'm going to engage because of the forward lean. So it's really forcing me to stay upright and engage maybe some of my weaker muscles in my body, my lower half. So it's good that way that, you know, you're being forced to use the quad, which is a lot less stronger than my glutes. So it's kind of cool like that, and you get an instant feedback when you're doing it because of the forward lean. As soon as I feel like my upper back is collapsing, I know I've leaned over too much, and so then I kind of straighten up a little bit in a way. But yeah, let's see how 140 moves. It's probably going to be my last set. Even the 120 I kind of felt collapsing, so let's see how it goes. so uncomfortable. So now what I'm going to do is just shave off back down to 70% of that weight, which is around 100 kilos. And I'll do 5 sets of 5 of that. And that will be the front squat portion of the squat program for today. I know some of you guys are going to think, what's the point? You know, what's the point of squatting every day? What's the point of pushing so hard? You know, you're just an average guy. You're not going to go to the Olympics. You're probably not going to make a cent out of this. You know, why go through such agony and discomfort and so much time commitment towards training when you're not going to get anything back from it? Those are some very valid points, and people in my life have said the same thing to me, like, why are you doing this? You know, why can't you just train a little bit and stay in shape and call it a day? For me, the answers always kind of stem back to my childhood. You know, I played basketball not for, you know, just for fun. I always had an ambition to kind of play as a professional. So I always kind of had a serious approach to training. And that kind of stayed with me throughout my teenage years. And then I gave up basketball and there was a bit of a void there. And so, you know, when weightlifting kind of started happening, I felt, you know, back to my old self when I took it a little bit more seriously. I like progress, I like improvement, I like gains. And so that's kind of why I do it. A lot of you guys can get 80% of these results, maybe with 50% effort. There's definitely a diminishing returns kind of relationship here. But I definitely think everyone should be doing something at home. You have to train, you have to do something. I'm a big believer of that, especially in the 21st century where we drive cars, most of us sit in an office for a job, very sedentary lifestyles, you know. Whereas back in the day, perhaps we had to, you know, walk over hills and fetch water and food and whatever. Now there's drive-throughs, there's deliveries and all that sort of stuff, so we're very inactive. So just to get back to baseline of human performance, you have to do something, because things are getting only easier and easier in the Western world and first world kind of countries. So yeah, that's where I stand on that. I truly believe everyone should be doing something. You don't have to do a squat everyday program, but at least do some push-ups and sit-ups at home. I definitely think that's kind of the bare bones of existence, really. We're so out of shape as a species. Diseases are only going up, even though, you know, overall life quality is getting better for a lot of us. So, you know, we're just getting lazier and lazier, and we're getting sicker and sicker. You know, Bruce Lee once said, one of my favorite quotes of all time, and that's, you know, he goes, "Running water never turns stale." It just resonates a lot with me, because you got to keep moving, man. Like, movement is medicine. Generally, people that move a lot are less sicker. So it's one of those things, you know, we're seeing 30, 40-year-olds having type 2 diabetes. And people say genetics is this and that. Man, it's the environment. Like, these people are so sedentary. We're all just kind of really overweight and unfit. I'm not saying we need to be shredded. That's not what I'm saying. There's a lot of fit guys who are bigger guys, you know. In the strong world, in the strongman world, I see it all the time. You know, guys who are of a heavier build, but they're fit, man. They're lifting shit. They're doing those medleys. So fitness is one thing. I'm not talking about you have to be 2% body fat. Screw that shit. Like, I'm not for that. But you got to be fit. You have to move. All right, let's hit the first set of 5 here. Obviously, the line of work I'm in, I see a lot of sick people. You know, being a nurse in an emergency ward, I see it all the time. You know, guys are coming in my age who are type 2 diabetic, overweight, unfit, high blood pressure, on medications. And, you know, doctors come in and prescribe some more medication for these people. And you know, returns the vital signs back to kind of a normal limit, thanks to the agents they're taking now. But no one ever discusses move. It's one of my biggest frustrations in my job, that for every ailment, there is a tablet. I absolutely hate that, man. I really, really hate that. That all we ever think about is just prescribing medications. I never hear anybody talk about, you know, sit down with the patient and actually talk about a program. You know, go get a dog, walk the dog every night, instead of me prescribing you this tablet. Mainstream medicine is kind of like that. You know, we like to put band-aids on people. We're not really good at, you know, getting at the cause of illness. We just keep, you know, putting band-aids on, and it's much more beneficial, you know, financially for these big businesses to sell band-aids rather than sell cues. You know, once you cure somebody, they're not going to come back to your door anymore. If you've given somebody a prescription, they're going to come back again once it runs out. So anyway, that's one of my biggest frustrations, and I'm always kind of like telling everyone around me, just start moving more. You're going to feel a lot better, you're going to sleep better, self-esteem goes up, it's going to get you out of the house, off the couch, you know. So these are some of the thoughts I have when people say to me, why are you training so much? It's like, why aren't you moving so much? I'm not asking you to be a weightlifter. Go hike, you know, go kick a ball, do something. I happen to like this stuff. And that keeps me coming back. I think everyone should look for something like that, where they feel motivated, they feel inspired, they just want to get out there and do that activity. That activity for me is this. I'm not doing this for monetary gain, I'm not doing this for anybody else, this is for me. I really enjoy writing this stuff in my book and then seeing progress. It's a beautiful thing. It kind of reminds me of back when I was a teenager, when I played a lot of video games, kind of those RPG games where you level up. You know, you do something so well, we spend some time with the character, whatever, and you level up, you improve your skills. That's what I feel like this is. I'm getting, you know, experience points through this. So every time I do a squat session, I get a bit more XP points. So that's basically it. That's how I look at it, really. That's why I train every day, because I want more XP points, so I can level up. All right, set 2. I think that's set 2. I've kind of lost count. Maybe 3. Screw it, I'll just do an extra one if it is. So that's set 2. So yeah, at the topic of squatting every day and training every day, you know, I've had a lot of discussions with some of you guys on the net and some of the people in my life who train and understand a bit of training philosophies, and I get a lot of comments saying maybe this is not the most optimal. You know, the Bulgarians, you know, Ivan Abdjev, you know, he probably dished out a lot of drugs to these athletes. You're probably right. I wasn't there to see anything, obviously. And so the comments are, well, it's not going to work if you don't take steroids. But my answer to that has always been, I'm not doing 4 sessions a day. I'm not doing 3 sessions a day. I'm just doing 1 session a day. So I'm not really doing the Bulgarian. That's why it's kind of like a cheat to say to somebody I'm doing Bulgarian, because the Bulgarian it's extreme, man. Like, those dudes lifted 8 hours a day. I lift 1.5 to 2 hours a day. And the intensity is piss. You know, those guys used to go to failure every single time. I never go to failure. Yeah, I've had a couple of mishaps here and there, but it's never been true failure. And a lot of you guys have made comments about, you look like you're not even straining, like you look like you're too comfortable. So that goes to show you that I'm not really pushing this really, really hard. The reason why I like the Bulgarian-like system, squatting every day, is the fact that I get to play every day. I get to have fun in the gym every day. I get to do my favorite exercise every day, and I get to, you know, expose myself to maybe another learning point every single day. If you're doing something once a week, you know, you're gonna get experience points, video game terminology, lot less frequently. Whereas if I get in here every single day, I might work something out on that day, right? Something might click. I might feel a bit more comfortable with a set exercise. Like I might, I actually have more opportunity to experiment with different exercises to see how they go. And that's the other thing. I've said this in the past. Like I use this stuff kind of like as a scientific approach. I'd put exercises in, I'd take them out, see the effects, try something else, and I see, how my body responds to it. So, yeah, that's why I train every day. More experience points, more frequently. All right, let's hit set number 3. Oh. Set number 3. Blood out of breath. When it comes to out of breath, some of my people, my life, some of my work colleagues who watch these videos have asked me, "Man, do you do any cardio?" My answer is no, I do 0 cardio. Coming from a basketball world where I did only cardio, only ran, sprints, long distance, just to get fitter. My metabolic rate was really high. I was always a scrawny little kid until I stopped doing cardio, stopped playing basketball. That's when I started putting on some mass. So I find doing long distance running is counterproductive to what I'm trying to do, and that's peak my 1 RM. Is cardio important? Absolutely. Cardio is very, very important. It aids in recovery. It increases more your capillary network. You can get better pumps. You're fitter. You can kind of recover set to set much quicker, and then session to session much quicker. I've experienced with different things. I even had one of those Zebex air bikes, the CrossFit things where you kind of pedal and you're rowing and pushing at the same time. I had that, sold that. Didn't really like it, how the wind kind of blew on cold days as well, so got rid of that. We've got a spin bike in the house. Do I use that often? I don't. I basically only do weightlifting, the exercise that I do. I think it's just more of a time thing. I've also got 2 young kids, so I don't want to kind of leave every single day for a jog or whatever the case might be. I definitely could. But it's just really easy for me kind of to look after the kids. My partner can kind of disappear, in the house, do her thing, and I can kind of take care of the kids over here. I also, that's one of the reasons why I like having my own gym. It's just so convenient, man. Like, I remember before I built this shed, we didn't have a shed here. It's a property we bought not too long ago, and so we knocked that old little shed, put this one down, and while that was being built, I went to the gym and I hated it, man. I always felt like I was rushing to the workouts because I wanted to get home, and then people waiting for equipment, no squat racks, shitty music, the fans are turned on maximally, it's too cold, too hot, whatever, all that crap. So much easier when you have your own controlled environment. And then Mrs. Rona hit, COVID-19 hit, and I guess this is where my gym really paid off. I basically didn't skip a beat this time. But anyway. Let's hit another set. This is set number 4. Hopefully this doesn't stop recording. What are we in? 24 minutes in. So that's number 4. I'm gonna go to 5 sets of 5 at 70%. Why 70%? Well, because I'm doing it every day. If I did 80%, I'd burn out. 5 sets of 5 seems to be comfortable enough so I can recover session to session. And yeah, it's not too light that I'm gonna just flick the weight up or whatever. 70% I find like it's a sweet spot. Whew. So after this next set, I'll do some back squatting. I haven't done back squatting in probably 3 or 4 days now. See how that feels. Like usual, I'll go to my training 1RM, and then I'll shave some weight off of that, and maybe do a set of 10 or something like that. Last time I did that, let's have a look. When did I do that? So day 155, so 4 days ago, yeah. 5 days ago. I hit 180 back then. Did I do it again since? Oh, I did, yeah, so I did it 3 days ago now. I hit 180 and then I went down to 70% again and I hit 110. So I'll probably do the same thing again. My legs are feeling fresh as anything. The only thing that I'm feeling after these 4 sets of front squats is here, sore throughout the bruising area, obviously, and I feel like my upper back is just really pumped and really worked, and a bit of the erectors as well, all the way down to the lumbar. So I feel like it's just a core exercise for me, which is really good because I'm addressing weaknesses. I'm addressing what's weak on me, and it's not leg strength. It's my core and my upper back. Let's hit another set. All right. Mobility is so important with the front squat, man. You need a lot of dorsiflexion, you need a lot of thoracic mobility, because if you don't, you end up leaning over. That's my biggest problem. Look how fat these freaking heels are as well. Like, I don't know how many inches that is, the remolators. That's a whole bunch of inches there on the heel, and I still tilts forward. That's a Harley going by. Alright, let's hit some back squats. Pants are falling down, man. Alright, that's 140 on the bar. Let's try and hit this for a set of 3, maybe a bit more, see how it goes. Obviously you don't want to burn out with the warm-up sets. You want to leave something for the top end. Obviously I've pre-exhausted myself with the front squats, so if I can hit 180 today, I'll be happy. I generally have kind of like goals in my mind. I have numbers in my mind when I come in that I want to hit, but it's never do or die. Like I always listen to my body. If it's not there, I don't push it. You know, what's the point? What's the point if I hit another 10 kilos on the given day? Yeah, the whole point is long-term stuff, so I'll let my body dictate the pace, although I know my body can lie. Kind of like what Matt Perryman book, Squat Every Day, talked about. Your mind can't lie to you. So it's really healthy kind of to have minimum, you know, goals for each day on the Squat a Day program, but just, I'm of the opinion that if the RPE for that day, whatever the case might be, you might be tired, fighting with somebody or whatever, that has all an impact on our mind. If you feel like you've worked hard for that day, leave it at that, man. Like, screw the numbers, through the preconceived goals, work towards what you feel on that given day. Like I've said this to you guys before, we're biological creatures. There's a lot of things going on, a lot of different variables. So for you to say, I want to hit 200 kilos today, how do you know before you start warming up? You have to warm up and see where you are, and then plan it from there. Because you never know how you feel. And if you set your sights on a given goal and you push really hard, that's when injuries happen. Like if it's not there, it's not there. Let it come to you. That's kind of my approach. It's definitely not something that a lot of these guys who recommend everyday squatting, kind of like John Bros, you know, he talks about almost failing every day, you know, straining every day. Amazing coach. I love listening to him. I've learned a lot from him. Maybe that's good for, like, you know, somebody that's competing and who's pushing really hard. But for me, it's about longevity, man. It's about health. I don't want to snap my knees and back up, you know. So I take it as kind of like that, you know, work towards a reasonably heavy weight that you feel like you had to kind of maybe a little bit of a fight, but it's never a grinder, and then leave it at that. All right, let's see how 140 goes. Let's pull my pants up so I don't freaking show my ass. I don't have the drawstring on these pants, that's why I can't tie them up. All right, 140. Right, so that's 5. Ah, goed gedaan. Dat is ja. Goed. Wat?
Dat wil je door in zijn machine.
Ah, goed, stop.
Hier, staan we prettig.
Ah. Imaš tamo cijeli pack. Yellow. Je, uzmi to. To će imati 100%. Alright. So 160 on the bar now. Hit that maybe before 2. See how it goes. Whew. I feel like I've been huffing and puffing the entire video. Is that cardio? I'm not sure if that's cardio, but you know, I'm working. Got a bit of a sweat. What's this video? 34 minutes in now. So it's a whole bunch of squatting in 34 minutes, right? It's kind of generally the pace I have. Sometimes I'm distracted when the kids are running around, when I've got music running around or whatever, which is rarely that I play music. So in terms of rest periods between the sets, I just go by my feeling, right? Again, auto regulation. If I'm huffing and puffing, I'm not going to go back to the bar, right? I'll let my rest rate come down, I'll let my heart rate come down. Then I know I'm ready. The reason I do that is because, number one, I'm not a bodybuilder. I'm not interested in building size. I want to build strength. And the other thing is, if you're huffing and puffing and your diaphragm is doing this, how can you brace? That's my biggest problem with CrossFit. You know, they're doing exercises that are strength exercises under metabolic strain. So they're huffing and puffing, you know, diaphragm is going up and down, which you can't do the Valsalva properly when you're too busy breathing. And then you start doing deadlifting for max reps, AMRAPs. You start doing clean and jerks, snatches, while your diaphragm is huffing and puffing, you can't even engage the core. That's my biggest problem with CrossFit, is that, you know, you can't do power movements under metabolic, you know, stress. It's a high risk of injury, especially for people that are, you know, amateurs in this kind of sport, who are beginners with the barbell. I think it's a bad mix. I'd rather have somebody learn properly the Olympic weightlifting moves. I don't know how to do them right, but you know, I'm accustomed with the barbell. The last thing you want somebody to do is forget about bracing because they're too busy sucking air in. Recipe for disaster, in my opinion. Because it's a power movement, right? It's not like, you know, a farmer's carry or a yoke. You know, I'm not very familiar with the yoke, but you know, you're not really, I don't know. I think you guys know what I mean. Power movements, 1 rep maxes, like weight that's kind of above 80%. You gotta be very, very careful. Like I don't see why you should be doing a 400-meter run and then doing a deadlift. It just doesn't make sense to me. It's too risky. All right, so let's go 160 on the bar now. Maybe 1 or 2 reps. Let's see how it goes. All right, 160 done. That kind of move all right. Is this still recording? Oh, good. I haven't checked for a while. Whew. So 180 on the bar now. From now on in, it's gotta be single reps. See how this moves. Whew. So after this, when I hit the top set, whatever the case might be, maybe this one, maybe the next rep, who knows, I'll drop it down to 70%, which is, it's 125 of 180, I know that because I did it last time. Hit it for 10. I've done a lot of volume obviously already, but I don't know why, I just feel kind of like the need to do rep work. It feels really good. Get a bit of a pump, it's cool. Because you know, so far, maybe I've got a bit of a pump going. I feel like my legs are working now, especially the teardrop muscle. Vastus medialis, is that what it's called? I think that's what it's called. I feel that kind of working. But generally I just feel cool from my upper back. So if I do a set of 10, maybe get a bit more blood in the quads. Especially when you've done front squats initially, you pre-assemble the nervous system to use that muscle group. And then you do the back squats and you really feel the quads kind of engage. It's all about weaknesses. Train your weaknesses, guys. That's basically my motto for, you know, nowadays. You know, I've done 160 days worth of front, you know, squatting, and even though it's great, it's just hitting the same sort of patterns over and over again, where my weaknesses are not being addressed. So it's still squatting, but it's a bit of a variant to hit my weaknesses. All right, let's see 180 now. Hopefully it moves well. balance there a little bit. I didn't plan to pause it. Kind of leaned over a little bit my toes there. So then I kind of had to pause, rock back a little bit onto my heels and then push up. So that was harder than I thought it was going to be. So let's leave that at that. So 180, let's go to 125 again. Like the other day, and rep out 10 or so, whatever I can get. I've heard a lot of people talk about what's the best way to build strength, high reps, low reps, and then you get all the bodybuilders who are kind of like done one or the other. Where do I stand on that conversation? I don't really know, man. Some days I feel like you can build strength with high rep stuff, obviously to a degree. Like you can't be doing sets of 50 and expect your 1RM to go up. But you know, bodybuilding parameters, 8 to 12 kind of reps, you know, using weight, that's kind of like just enough for that. I guess you can build strength that way, but I always feel like you need to have some time in your training that's dedicated to kind of 1RM, 2RM, 3RM, because that's when you kind of like, you're teaching your nervous system to contract in a maximal kind of force way. If you continuously just pumping high repetitions, your body just kind of gets used to, I don't know, half-assed contractions. Whereas when you're doing a 1RM, kind of like what this thing was, you know, you're firing on all cylinders. Like there's no passengers kind of just with the legs up. Everyone's involved. So I don't know. I feel like if you could somehow merge both of them, kind of like concurrent periodization, where you're doing a bit of both at the same time, is probably the best. When it comes to squatting every day, if you're doing it every single day, you could probably, you know, kind of like me, work up to some sort of like heavy rep, and then do back off sets where you're doing 8 to 12 repetitions. That's probably the easiest way, in my eyes, to do it, if you want to kind of touch heavy weight in your training all the time. Otherwise, you can do block periodization and have blocks where you're doing 60%, blocks where you're doing 70%, blocks where you're doing 90%, and then picking block or whatever. To me, I've tried that. I didn't really enjoy it, like day in, day out, doing the same shit every day. It's just, I don't know, I get bored with that. Yeah, probably it gets you better results, but that's not my thing. The fun for me, like I've said before, is handling weights that are, you know, causing me to work real hard. All right, so let's try and hit a set of 10 with this. 125. Man, I need new pants. Fucking hell. Oh man. How many reps was that? 10 or 11? I lost count. I don't really count that high up. Oh man. There it is, guys. How many minutes are we in? 46 minutes in. Full squat session, in direct contrast to yesterday's session, where I did minimal kind of work, kind of a busy schedule type session. This is on the opposite spectrum. Took an hour. And then from here, some days I do deadlifts, other days I don't. But there you go, gives you a spectrum. I hope you enjoyed that, guys. This is a full session for me. Hopefully it gives you an idea on the easiest and the hardest sessions. I can't talk, guys. Catch you in the next one.